This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. There he is. All right. What are you looking out the window to see if the FPNL guys are there still?
What FPNL guys are you talking about?
Somebody says, Big O, ask Omar if he chased the FPNL guys off his yard with his chancleta.
Listen, that was about them parking on my front part of my yard, like instead of parking in the street. I'm like, why is it that y'all always have to park on my yard? There's not only is I actually have the lawn that's not torn up. You can go park anywhere else. Why you got to park on my nice lawn?
Oh, so you had a nice lawn and everything. They screwed it all up, huh? Wow.
It's I dealt with that a long time. I dealt like that a week ago. I don't even know why anybody was bringing that up.
Well, somebody brought it up on the chat board. I was intrigued. I mean, he's old man Kelly's telling him, get off my lawn. I mean, that's
no question. When you work hard for your yard, and everybody who's got because we don't have any sidewalks in this neighborhood, which is weird, but we don't. Wow. So that front part of your yard is difficult to kind of keep up, and right. I work hard to keep it up, and people want to drive on it, park on it, and it's very troubling when you put all that work into it, and then all of a sudden somebody drives their car on it.
Right. God, that's terrible. So I saw you writing about Mike Greer, Chris Greer's brother, as he's climbing the ranks in hockey now to become a general manager in hockey. It's a really talented family, actually.
Always been. They're front office guys. They grew up in the front office. It's in their bloodline. So I'm glad to see that.
Plus he was a hell of a player for, I want to say, 12, 15 years or something like that in the hockey in the NHL.
You tell me. I don't know. You
didn't know that? Did you know that he was also a hell of a player for a long time?
I knew he was a player. I didn't know he was. I couldn't tell you who was a good hockey player.
Yeah, no, he was a good player in the league for a long time. I'm going to tell you, he was like one of the greats of all time or something. But he was a good player, and dude, he lasted a long time in the NHL. He had a long ass career, and then, it just seems like there's a lot of that in that family. That a lot of them are tied to athletics, and then some of them now are moving up into the management side of it. And listen, I'm happy for Chris because I think a lot of the stuff that's gone on, he made a mistake. He made a mistake with Flo, and it didn't really jive. And it's really important in any business and life and relationships and whatever you're going to build. You're going to build a marriage, you're going to build a business, you're going to build a football team. You gotta get along, and you got to be on the right page. And hopefully his second hire here with McDaniel gets him on the right page, because obviously he was lucky enough to be able to get that second chance, which, as you know, minorities really don't get those kind of chances a lot of times, so it's nice that he got that chance. Let's hope it works out now, because if you have chemistry, I think it'll look. I've said it for a while. I have nothing but respect for Reggie McKenzie, for Marvin Allen, and for Chris Greer, and I'm going to stick to it. They're going to prove to be one of the best front offices in the NFL as time goes on.
I have respect for them. I like the fact that Chris doesn't have a huge ego, so he's able to work with others and collaboratively. I know and respect Reggie McKenzie for what he's accomplished in his career, and I know, and based on the people that I talk to, that Marvin Allen is one of the best college evaluators, talent evaluators in the NFL. He's a guy, I've seen him operate. He's like the Pied Piper in those environments where everybody's coming up to him. Now, whether or not it could work here, whether or not it can, turn this organization into a perennial winner, who knows? I've been here long enough to see 15 years of mediocrity and mistakes that remind me that it's not always about who you hire or who's running the show or what quarterback that you select. it's a collaborative thing, and I've never been one of those guys who sits there and says, "Oh, it starts at the top." That hasn't been me. But I'm at the point now where I have to realize, where I have to conclude, like, I've seen it done so many ways and so many failures that maybe it does start at the top, and maybe that's what the issue is. So you're at the point where you've got to rule everything out, and
Yeah. Yeah.
at this point, to me, it does come down. It does come down to ownership and the leadership that starts from the top, and
Always.
that's
Always.
pulls forward.
Oh.
I've never been that guy, because I've always looked at Steve Ross as, oh, he does what you want him to do, and he spends money. How could he be bad? Like, whatever you want him to do, he does, and he spends money.
Right.
How could he be the problem?
He's not. Nobody could ever say he's bad. He just hasn't had success. Bad is Loria, that you don't spend. Bad is the guy, at least at the moment right now for the Marlins, Bruce Sherman has not really spent money. He spent a little money this offseason, but we all know he's not really spending the kind of money you need to spend in baseball in order to compete. So that's bad. For Stephen Ross, it's just, Huizinga was good too, bro. I mean, he brought Saban, and he brought Parcells, and he brought Jimmy.
He did whatever you
did everything you needed. You need a stupid bubble, I'll build a stupid bubble. You need a new practice facility. There's Stephen Ross building a new practice facility. Oh, you got to save the tennis tournament. So he's not only a good owner for the Dolphins, he's actually a very good owner for the community, because he saved the tennis tournament. Yeah, he saved the tennis tournament. He brought an F1 race here. He's made that stadium, along with Tom Garfinkel, way more of a destination now, with all the different shows that they're bringing there, with Jazz in the Gardens and Rolling Loud and all kinds of other concerts. And, that place has become a real destination now for entertainment, dude. So they are great.
I don't think any of that.
They're great custodians for our community. He just hasn't been a great owner because he hasn't won. Because that's the only label you get as a great owner. You have to win. Viola and Sifu are great owners, but they just haven't won with the Panthers. So we just consider them, hey, they're doing great. They're at least making the effort. But until you win the cup or whatever, you're not going to be considered the perfect owner. But dude, they do everything you need.
If there's one correlation, and I am at the point where I'm like, okay, it starts at the top. It starts at owner. It starts at leadership. But if there's one correlation that I could say that's been a universal theme sewn into every single change, and GM change, and vice president change, and head coach change, it's that they never felt quarterbacks. They always attached themselves to the wrong quarterback, and they never felt quarterbacks should have to compete to win their spot. That's the only universal thread that ties everything together, from my perspective. And a lot of times, I felt like that was the wrong approach to take at where the organization was.
Well, it all depends on what quarterback you have, because really, you don't ever really do that. And you only do that when your quarterback is not good enough, like Ryan wasn't. And so, or AJ Feely, or any of the other guys that you've had, you should bring.
But you never did that. You never did that during the Ryan.
Right. But what I'm saying is, when you draft Joe Burrow, you don't really draft competition. When you draft certain guys, you just don't draft competition. You're not drafting competition for Deshaun Watson. You're not really drafting competition for Baker Mayfield. Normally, when you draft a quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, whatever, there is no competition. It's after that they've proven to you that they're not good enough that you'll make the move for Deshaun Watson, that you'll trade up and give up a bunch of picks for Trey Lance. Then is when those guys then convince you. But normally, when you acquire a quarterback, you start him, you trade for him, whatever it is, you don't really bring in competition, because then why did you acquire him? It's one of those confidence things in the locker room, that if your front office and your coaching staff don't show confidence in him, the rest of the locker room is not going to do it. So
I
if
think
you bring in a
even
guy and you bring in Tannehill and you bring in competition, you're already sending a message to your locker room that he's not good enough. That's why we have to have competition. And so then that creates a fuzzy situation. That's why what you're saying normally doesn't happen.
I disagree with that line of thinking, and I believe competition is healthy for everybody.
I agree.
Every player on the
agree
team
in that.
has competition,
But not in quarterback. Not in quarterback. Think about it.
Exactly. Every player but the quarterback has competition. I personally believe that that's an unhealthy approach.
Now, listen. While I disagree with you in theory, because normally it just doesn't happen. What you're talking about specifically with the Dolphins, you're 1,000% right. Because you acquired somebody that wasn't good enough, you should have brought in competition because everybody else knows he's not good enough. Okay, we know Cleo Lemon's not good enough. We know AJ Feely's not good enough. We know that Ryan Tannehill's not good enough. Do something about it. You're 1,000% right. Huh?
I just ignored him and he just skipped over him like it was
right. Chad Henne was not good enough too. That was a guy that
it was like a brain fart you just had. You just like Chad Henne error, 3 years of my life wasted. Okay, whatever.
Well, because Parcells had that whole thing of the 10,000 yards, the 4-year starter, yada yada yada.
You know what's funny about that error? You know what's funny about that error? They drafted quarterbacks 3 straight years, rounds 2 and above.
Yeah, yeah. I know.
No, they were all rounds 2. And it just like I would more respect that approach than what's happening lately now, forever.
No, not this one here. Recently, I like what you did here with Tua, but before everything else, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I like what they're doing with Tua, and I watched the Tyreek Hill interview. Didn't find it tremendously up.
No, it's not about football. It's about personal. It's about connection. It's about support. It's about a foundational relationship to start something. And if you're going to have success, well, you should enjoy each other's company. You should be able to get along. You should try to be on the same page.
I don't even think it was about that. I think the most telling thing that I took from that interview was Tyreek basically saying to him when Tua comes to him and says, "Hey, what time do you think we should meet for off-field workouts?" And Tyreek's like, "Hey,
you're the quarterback.
You tell us when, and we'll be there. Like you have to lead us." And that was just, that was just a very telling thing, and it's important because it's showing that hey, I'm the biggest star on this team, but I relinquish all my leadership rights to you.
Yeah, but Tua also has that thing in him at the moment, like every other player does. I haven't proven it yet, so I don't feel like I should take over and boss people around. Once he has that success, then he'll feel much more comfortable kind of dominating that locker room. And I think that's the threshold that he's waiting to cross. And time is the only thing that's going to answer that. His success will allow him to then cross that threshold to say, okay, this is my team. I'm taking over. You know what I mean? And I think that's all it is for players. He should, pretty much.
He should view it as his team.
And he should. But he's having the respect that a Johnny Manziel would not have. That Johnny has not accomplished anything, but he'll walk in and dominate the locker room. And it's like, yo, dude, like, you just got here. You haven't done anything. And so I think that's what it is. This is a respectful kid. And so he's not comfortable going to places that he's not supposed to be in yet. And that's him saying, when I'm there, then I'm going to then open my wings up and then expand. But I think he's kind of respectful about all of that. But it was a great moment where Tyreek said, dude, you're the quarterback. You tell us you want to go to Hawaii. I'll go to Hawaii with you, I love that. I love that about him because he's supporting his guy. He's helping him to that point of having that confidence, because you can tell Tyreek wants him to take over. You know what I mean? But it's just one of those deals.
I've never seen, and I don't know if this is a Mike McDaniel mandate or this is just Tyreek Hill, who's coming from a good, healthy organization. But as you know, I've been here 15 years. I've seen a lot of dysfunction. I've seen a lot of leadership battles. I've seen a lot of trauma. I've seen a lot of behind the scenes stuff, but I've never seen a player empower their quarterback more or lift their quarterback up more than what Tyreek is doing. And it's admirable to me. Now, will it pay off when he's in his first game and he's got a Mike Wallace moment where he's not targeted and he throws a tantrum after the game? You know, we'll see. We'll soon figure that out. But ultimately, he's saying and doing all the right things to ensure to it that, hey, you are empowered, you are important, you are our guy. And this is another moment where Tua gets on Tariq about underthrowing him and like,
oh, don't say that here.
yeah, don't say it. Yeah, don't say that here. Like, yeah. And Tua's like, and it was just, it was.
But Tua understood that. That's why he mentioned it. Like, he wanted to have fun with that too.
I agree. Yeah,
he was feeding the trolls there too at the same time. You know
and I agree. But here's what people have to factor in: it takes a minute to build chemistry, no matter what. And Tariq is the fastest human I've ever seen. Like, you know, outside of track runners, he's the fastest player on the football field that I've ever seen. So it's going to take a little minute to develop chemistry. I remember the final practice where Tua throws. That we were there, and Tua throws 2 touchdown passes to Tyreek. You know, you only saw one from the Dolphins media presentation, even though they got film of the second one. It was a little underthrown. It was a little. He had to stop and go get it. Despite having the cornerback, the safeties burnt like 10 yards, and it would have opened them up for criticism. So you know what they do? They're like, nah, we're not going to even put it out.
Right. But that's all part of timing. That's kind of what it is. Those are the things that he'll figure out. Like, oh, I've got to throw it a tenth of a second faster than I normally will.
People act like this. I watch Wallace and Tannehill never develop any chemistry.
Well, but that's a lack of touch. This kid has touch. That's
but then
timing is one thing, touch is another. And
then Tannehill developed chemistry with Kenny Stills. And people were like, "Oh, look, see, it's so instantaneous. It's like where you know why Mike Wallace sucked and Kenny Stills is amazing." I'm like, okay, people, y'all clearly want to see what you want to see, do what you want to think. So, but chemistry takes time. He's developed. I don't even think he has great chemistry with Mike Wallace, Mike Gesicki. We got a lot of Mikes. No, we don't.
Well, they didn't help last year by keeping him on the sidelines and not playing him enough when it's one of your best weapons.
Oh,
that's where I think this dude will be different. This guy is going to use all his weapons, including Alec Ingold, and he's going to find ways to give them advantages out in the open field. So I think that's where things will change. I think you'll have a better offensive mind to take advantage of all of those kind of things. I don't think your best weapons will be sitting on the sidelines all the time with Mike McDaniel compared to with Flo. Right? I don't think so.
I don't know. We'll see. I
mean, hell, if I don't, I have to expect a better offense, bro. I mean. It can't be the same shit we've seen here the last 12 months.
Years? Last 15
I mean,
years?
there were times that were half decent offenses, but what we saw last year, 2 years ago wasn't bad. Last year was just incompetent, dude. It was really, really bad. The Changeli year wasn't terrible.
I like the Cham.
It was a solid year. It was a solid year. But last year,
but they still used Gesicki as a part-time player,
Okay, but he was younger then. I mean, last year he was more mature and ready to go, and he was coming off a pretty decent year, especially the second half of that season. I wish they would have used him a little bit more last year. I think they will this year. Overall. All right. Anything else on the football side that you're expecting this week from the Dolphins in the next couple of weeks? No moves, no nothing. You're not hearing anything?
Nah, man. They're on vacation. Chris Greer is probably somewhere in Massachusetts somewhere, living his life. I know Mike McDaniels is here, and I think he's probably using his time to settle into his life. But yeah, once when you're in Miami, where you need to go.
No, I know. I mean, listen, you gotta get a little vacay in there, but I always gotta ask you guys because there's still some stuff out there and they have money. So what do you think they do with their money? Who gets paid down the line? Who's next?
I don't see anybody to sign to extensions. I'm letting Christian Wilkins play in his 5th-year option. I really don't.
So you don't negotiate with Christian Wilkins until after the season, is what you're saying.
Correct.
But hold on a second. Who's up at the end of the year?
Van Ginkel, Wilkins, Dieter. You're gonna make me get my stuff out. All these running backs, you signed 1-year deals.
Now I'm talking about important people like that you're gonna tag, that or possibly tag.
Nobody. Christian Wilkins is probably your top free agent going into this. He's not even a free agent. Like
he's restricted.
No, he's going to get the 5th-year option. So he's already got a 5th-year option.
Okay.
So there's nobody like Andrew Van Ginkel is it. Like
unless he goes out and has 12 sacks or something, then you gotta. I'm just thinking of
Eric Flowers.
If you're not going to use cap space on any free agents,
they don't do that. They don't do that. At this point, they sign pieces that we need this extra body for camp. They probably need another linebacker. And then
that's what I mean. That then they'll save the space for at the end of the year, towards the end of the year, if there's anybody that they feel they need to extend before the end of the season. That's why I asked you which are those candidates, because if you're not going to use the cap space you have left any free agent that's out there, then you're going to use it to re-sign.
They always have roughly about $13 million of cap carryover to the next year. That's just the Dolphins' way. They always use a budget in case of emergency, in case they need to go trade for Deshaun Watson. They've always operated like that. So I don't think that changes. So all this money that people have, I'm sorry, but I hate to break it to you if you didn't know this, but this Dolphin isn't a win-it-all team. They're not a Super Bowl contender. So what's the point of taking an all-in approach with money and players? Like, no, that's not where this team is. They're continuing to build. They're continuing to improve the foundation. They felt like the contractor was janky. They replaced the contractor and started to continue to build again. So will it work? Who knows? I think the only way that we can determine that is by whether or not they can pull off a playoff win. Because that's, to me, has been the goal from when I took over in 2007, and it still hasn't been achieved.
Right. Yeah. That's definitely the next step. It's making the playoffs and then try to win a game to start to see if you can get to that point where you start getting deeper into the playoffs. That would be really, really cool. All right. What else are you working on this week at the Sun Sentinel so Dolphin fans can check you out?
Nothing. Nothing, bro. I'm on vacation. Like, let me enjoy my life. Let me have a barbecue. Let me go to the beach.
I hear a truck in the background. Is that another FP&L truck parking on your yard?
No, it just rained. Thank God, because the grass was getting a little dry. As you know, I'm a yard guy, so I'm always obsessing about my yard.
Well, Finn's fan is asking any interest in USFL players. Oh, come on, Omar. What USFL players that just finished the season are ready to help the Dolphins win the Super Bowl? Come on, Omar.
I like Chris Borland. I've always liked him. He was on my man crush list. I heard he just won the USFL championship.
Birmingham Stallions.
Yeah, I would sign him up. I've always been a fan of his, always, and I don't know why he didn't pan out in the NFL. He reminds me a lot of, I dare say it because they're white, two white undersized linebackers, but he reminds me a lot of Zach Thomas.
Okay. Yeah, when we talk about white undersized linebackers, that's it.
I mean, like, give me another white undersized linebacker, and maybe I'll start to compare. Was Luke Kuechly undersized? I don't think so.
No. Luke Kuechly was like 6'3", 6'4". He was
no way. He was that.
Yeah,
big.
he was a big. Yeah, he was a normal size, big ass, athletic mofo. Yeah. He was a beast. Huh?
I said, you make me want to look that up now. I'm like, how do I not know Luke Kuechly is 6?
Let me see. Luke Kuechly, 6'3", 235. How about that, bitch?
6'3", 235. Jesus Christ, he was huge.
I know he was huge. Not only was he huge, he can move. That's why he was such a high draft pick, because the size and the athleticism that dude brought.
Does he get
scariest moment was watching him get carted off, and he's crying because when you have a concussion, there's that effect that you have that they cannot control it, and it's an emotion that takes over them, and they can't control the crying. And it was, because that guy suffered so many concussions.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
They can't control the crying? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's this emotional thing that happens to when you suffer a concussion and something happens. I don't know the medical term from it, but you all of a sudden these emotions take over and you will start to cry and stuff, and it's uncontrollable. And you can see when he's being carted away. And it's just sad because it's another one of those concussions, and you're like, my God, this is going to be the end of this man's career, and he's such a great player and all that kind of stuff.
Props to him for walking away when he should. Now the question is, does he get into the Hall of Fame before Zach Thomas?
I would put him in the Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame linebacker. If you're going to put Gale Sayers, and if you want to put Terrell Davis in, and if you want to put any of these other guys that have had short careers, his career was a little longer, and he was a great player, dude. Great player. That guy is, props to him, man. He's a monster.
Didn't answer the question. Does he get in before Zach?
No. I think Zach gets in now. I think Zach gets in here in the next year or two. Yeah, I think he's going to get in. I think a lot of people have realized that he deserves to be in there. And I've always been afraid that he's the guy that stays right on the outside looking in because of his size. And people don't appreciate
his size should be the reason why he's in.
I'm not arguing that, but it's just like, because you have this thing, they tell you, oh, yeah, you're just a little overachiever. That's kind of the way they treat you. It's terrible, dude. But that's the way they treat you, So, oh yeah, we're only giving you extra attention because you were an overachiever because of your size or something. That's the way they almost treat you. Instead of, this guy was a great player. Who gives a shit how he looks like, what size he is, or whatever.
Linebackers in his era.
Yeah, can you play? Hell yeah! So put his ass in there. So yeah, I would have no problem putting Kuechly and Zach Thomas in the Hall of Fame. All right, Omar. Follow him on Twitter at Omar Kelly. Catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Maybe next week when he comes back from vacation. You can catch him here twice a week doing his thing. Oh, thank you as always, my man. We'll catch up next week, later on in the week. Omar Kelly.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.